In this video, we're going to make a removable pocket for the Photon microcontroller and battery. This is really useful if you want to make several items and then switch one battery and microcontroller between them. Remember to never charge the battery while it's connected to a project. Also, don't ever wash the Photon. If you do, it will be broken forever. Anyway, electrical signals still need to get from the Photon to your project. Conductive hook and loop is perfect for this. You can also use snaps, but we'll use hook and loop. Okay, let's get started. Here's what we're making. First, cut out the material and then sew the conductive hooks onto the right side using regular thread. You want to put one in each corner like this. The conductive hooks can be a little difficult to sew through, so if you're having trouble, you can always use a pair of needle nose pliers to help you out. So once you've sewn all of the hook and loop pads onto the back of your pouch, the next step is to take a different piece of embroidery floss, the best is to do it in a different color, and embroider which pad you're going to connect to which part of the wearable shield. This is important so you don't forget and accidentally do something like connect live to ground. So on my pouch, I'm connecting this pad, as you can see, to ground by the G I wrote next to it, this pad to 3V3, this to D4, and this to D6. So I don't forget, I'm gonna keep embroidering with this red floss. So once you've embroidered the meaning of each pad, the next step is to connect it to the wearable shield. For this, we're going to use another piece of embroidery floss. We don't want to use the conductive thread yet because that's only really for making the circuit since it's not as strong as this. So we also need to cut a backing pad for the shield since the felt might not be thick enough to insulate the thread. The conductive thread. So just in case, we're gonna put this extra piece of felt in. So start by connecting the shield to the backing pad. You can sew it around any of the pads that we're not using. So in this case, I'm gonna sew on the top and the bottom since that isn't part of, we're not connecting that to anything. Right now, I'm just finishing up sewing the connections. It's really important when you're sewing the conductive thread around the pad on the wearable shield to really go around multiple times and make sure that it's really connected. Rather than just sewing once around, you really need to go probably at least 5 times and really cross them over. Otherwise, you probably won't have a circuit. And then you can just tie a knot, finish your sewing. Also, once you've finished sewing everything, check again just to make sure that you haven't accidentally crossed any threads. Also trim all loose threads, like this one here. There you go. Now we can sew the pouch together. For sewing it together, we'll use embroidery floss. I really recommend adding a second pocket for the battery, which is what I've done here. For this project, I sewed it together using a blanket stitch, but you can also, which I think it looks really pretty, but you can also use a simple running stitch, which is what I'll do here. We can also sew some regular Velcro onto the flap to keep it closed, or a button like this. But why would we not use snaps? Any guesses? Because they're metal and might cause a short. So that's it. You have made a really nice detachable pouch so that you can move your microcontroller and battery from project to project, and you can even remove it for charging. Thanks for watching! Don't forget to catch up on the other videos on how to make wearable projects.